And now, a three-time sports editor, former online and managing editor, and host of Talk That Talk, award-winning journalist Terrell Chatterbox Emerson.
Welcome to it. Welcome to it. It is a little after 3 o'clock on a Monday afternoon, so it is time for the Talk That Talk radio show. I am your host, Terrell Chatterbox Emerson. I am in studio with two good people. Did my music just start over? I'm like, what the hell is going on? Mondays for you. It's Mondays for everybody. But I'm in the studio with two good people. Not even sure which camera is on which person, but we're slowly about to make our way around this room. On this beautiful Monday, I have Isaiah Torres, our Vegas Golden Knight beat writer. Zay, what's good with you, brother?
I'm just happy to be back. Happy to be here. Excited for what's to come in the summer.
Definitely, man. It's a lot to get to today. It's a lot to get to this month in general, right? But sitting to your right, my guy Alex Wright from the Las Vegas Review Journal is in the building. Isaiah Torres just said a second ago that he hadn't had a three-person show in a long time. You have had one here, though, right?
Yeah, I just thought about it really quick. The last time I was here with a third guest was right after the college football national championship game.
That had to be a good. Was that Markel?
It was Markel.
That was Markel.
So January.
Shout out to Markel. But with us right now, Isaiah Torres, Alex Wright. Alex, what's going on with you, man?
Not much. Doing pretty good. Summer months. I know. Busy morning for the Las Vegas sports teams with some things happening, but excited to talk all about it. This is my first three-person show. I'm pretty sure it is.
Hey. That's always fun to know. Yeah. So again, like I said before, you guys will see how easy this show flows, and you guys will slowly start to see my plan kind of start to kind of show itself. You guys will kind of start to see where this show's. Well, you guys have already seen where this show started from, and now you guys are have an opportunity to kind of see where it's headed, right, and see the direction that we're kind of angling it towards. But let's go ahead and get right to the show the only way we know how. Again, thank you guys for watching on YouTube. If you guys would like to watch via YouTube, all you have to go is go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk Radio Show. Once again, go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk Radio Show. It's pretty much the same across every platform, guys. It would be the same on Instagram, Facebook. It's the same on Apple Podcasts, the same on Spotify. It's the same on YouTube, right? I started with YouTube. The one thing that's different is our Twitter. Our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. Once again, guys, our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. But let's get right to it, man. Let's get right to it. Let's get right to the show. Did I lie? I did lie. I don't know why I assume that I'm done with these moments, knowing that our intro for the show is 2 minutes, right? So I got a couple other things to go through really quick as we get ready to kick off this Monday show. Again, Isaiah said it right before the show started, this last day of June, right? Last day of June before we head into July. What will be a busy July here. But today is episode 41 of season 7, episode 367 in totality of the Talk That Talk radio show. So I'm pretty proud about that. I'm pretty happy about that. This show is being shot from the studio here, and I want to slowly give everybody kind of a visual of the studio. This show is being shot from the Harry Reid Research and Technology Park here on Sunset, here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm excited, man. Again, my mom sent me a bunch of tip-ins, but we'll get to it as the show progresses. I don't have one right offhand. from her, I don't think, but she did send me a couple. So we're gonna get to that. Before we do, like I said, I'll go through them. Alex, you kind of just talked about it. You talked about it a second ago. I posted something not long ago, right? Kind of regarding this. I feel like the writing was on the wall for a little bit. NaLyssa Smith from Dallas to Vegas today for a 2027 first round pick. First of all, the news broke and it was like 34 seconds after. I was like, okay, this shouldn't be too crazy for everybody, but I know that there's going to be more to come on the back end of this deal. But what was your initial reaction when you kind of heard everything kind of play out?
Well, we've kind of seen with the Aces this year, it's kind of been a lot of inconsistency from, well, there's been some inconsistency from their starters, but inconsistencies from the bench and their role players. There hasn't been that type of, like an Alicia Clark, like that consistent 6-person off the bench, a De'Erica Hamby, that consistent 6-person off the bench that you could count on to do whatever you need to do, get some points, get some field goals and play some solid defense. So I mean, we felt like this was kind of a move was going to be expected, especially probably some sort of a front court player to play alongside Asia Wilson or to spell her when she needs a rest, as someone that could score and play good defense and kind of pick up for the slack for a team that's been lacking some consistency, has had a lot of some scoring droughts, but more so, especially when they play the top teams in the WNBA, they've struggled defensively, and I think they got a person in NaLyssa Smith who can definitely fill that role for them.
Just randomly, but I went ahead and I looked back at one of the games that I don't know. Actually, I know why I was there, but I was looking at a particular game, and NaLyssa Smith shot 2 of 8 or something like that, right? Had 5 points, had 14 rebounds. And that stat line alone, I was like, I think the Aces will take the 5 points. I think the Aces will take the the 14 rebounds as well. Isaiah, did you first of all, how did you get the news? Everybody seemed to kind of get it in different ways. Whether they got it from the Aces, whether they got it from Twitter, whether they got it from a Instagram story, just a couple different ways. How did you get the news? What was your initial reaction to it?
Okay, well, maybe this is not the best way to put this, but I got the news on Twitter because
It's not a bad thing.
no,
I think a lot of people get their news from Twitter.
well, it's because so yesterday I wasn't able to watch it live, or was it? I don't know if it was 2 days ago now. No, it was
these days
yesterday.
are
It was
running
just yesterday was live.
Mm.
I didn't get to watch it, so today I went back and I wanted to watch the Candace Parker jersey retirement because because obviously
Which is on the rundown.
I'm okay. It is okay, so I won't touch on it too much. But yeah, so Twitter saw some Candace Parker stuff, and then I saw the Aces make the trade. That's how the news broke to me. Like honestly, not that long ago, just a few hours ago.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, the news is still pretty fresh, right? I want to play something that is actually from June 24th, 2023. This was following a post game inside Michelob Ultra Arena after the Aces just defeated the Indiana Fever. Let's see what we got.
Coach, last season we were very complimentary about NaLyssa Smith, and it was after a win. And since then, every time her name kind of comes up, you kind of flash a smile. You seem to really be infatuated with her game. What about her game stands out to you?
A lot stands out to me. She's somebody who, she never gets like out of her box. Like she's just very smooth in what she does. She makes it look easy out there. She knows how to play. Like if I was going to play a pickup game, I'd want her on my team. And so she just finds spots. She picks you apart. And then she can score on all 3 levels. She's got a 3-ball, she's got a mid-range, and she can take it to the rack. So those types of players are also, they're just hard to guard. But yeah, I'm a fan. I like her game a lot.
So that was 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago now, right? And Vegas makes this trade for NaLyssa Smith. Does hearing Becky Hammon talk about NaLyssa 2 years ago bring this into clarity any more for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Because I mean, you hear about this all the time. I mean, not all the time, but every once in a while, when it comes from the head coach or the GM, they say that they like the player's game, and then they kind of always leave that person in the back of their mind, saying, when the timing is right and we have an opportunity, let's not hesitate. Let's strike and try to get this player to join our roster. I do this all the time, but I always like to use like other examples of whether it's from a different sport or league or in general. But I mean, like really huge move last season was the Dodgers getting Tommy Edman.
Huge.
And when they got Edman and he ended up being an LCS, big contributor to World Series, the rest is history. After the season ended, they spoke about how bad they wanted him. They tried to trade for him for like 2 years, and the opportunity finally came. And so I see a lot of parallels here with this move as well.
Yeah, you mentioned GM, and well, the Aces don't have a GM right now. It's more Becky and some other front office people doing it as far as evaluating players and signing players and all that. So you just had to we always see that in sports. I think maybe the best example is like coaches, especially at the college level. ADs always kind of have an idea of, oh, that person's a good coach. That person could run my football or basketball program if we need to. And especially in sports, coaches and GMs looking at players, you're always trying to find maybe not necessarily that diamond in the rough kind of, but that person who could be a bigger role. There may be a seventh or maybe the eighth or ninth person off the bench, but you could come over to here. We could fill a void as a sixth person or be a starter in some instances. And of course, as we know, Becky Hammon knows ball. So if you get those sort of compliments from Becky Hammon, then you're a really good player, and more so, Becky knows what she wants from her team and what they need to do to be successful. So if she feels like a player could mesh with that and do this system and gel with the team and all that, then that person's probably a really good fit.
And you kind of just talked about it right now, right? It's going to boil down to how quickly NaLyssa can get the terminology, how quickly she can get the defensive scheme. Because we believe that she's the type to kind of come in and stick her nose right in there, right? And kind of be one of the aggressors for the Aces. So I have a couple things to kind of talk about on this one, right? I talked to Jewell Loyd after one of the games recently about, it was actually after a loss, and Kia had 14 rebounds in that game. And I was like, obviously, how big was that for her to give you guys 14 big rebounds? I think 6 of them were on the offensive end. Like, she goes out there and she still has her fingerprints on the game. I think during that game, Kia was 0 for 1, right? I did a story with Kia last season about the team's record when Kia simply attempts more field goals, not when she makes them, just when she just when she attempts them. If she takes like 4 or more, their record is significantly better than if she takes 3 or less, right? I gave her those numbers. The team heard those numbers. Some members of the team heard those numbers, and they were pleasantly surprised by those numbers and was like, yeah, we need Kia to shoot. Like, we need Kia to make them, you know what I mean? Make them play a little more honest. NaLyssa's going to shoot. Here's the thing. In theory, NaLyssa's going to shoot, right? Because I keep having these conversations with people about Jewell Loyd, and I keep saying that I feel like Jewell Loyd still hasn't gotten fully comfortable where she can tell everybody, hey, move out the way. Like, these next 3 possessions, I got them. Kelsey did that often. And actually, I was speaking to somebody recently about it, and they were like, yeah, and even when Kelsey did it, like, there were some, even though the team needed it, there were some times where it looked kind of crazy. And I said, that's the point. Like, you need a point where it's like everything is kind of going haywire. We need somebody to kind of settle it down, right? Now, from that perspective, Jewell gets to a team with an established core, a winning history, and a head coach whose reputation precedes her. I don't know how much I'm gonna go out there and just be flinging the ball around. So if Jewel is a little more hesitant to find a kind of pick and choose her spots, I believe Nalissa is going to be just as hesitant.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it too now is this Aces team. They've had games under their belt, and they're 500 or so, and they're kind of. I mean, I don't want to say panicking, but there's definitely some concerns raised, right? Like
They in the deep end of the pool, slapping real hard. That's what
right,
it's like right now.
yeah. I mean, it's Becky's talked about it after games, after losses, about how they're just not doing the things that they need to do, and maybe this just move mid season could be a little bit of a wake up call to everybody else. Like, okay, we're not playing to our full potential. We have things we need to fix. We need things we need to correct, and now maybe we can kind of start to get some of that, maybe that pressure off. That, like, okay, try to play a little bit more freely, as we should be playing a little bit more freely as we get everyone comfortable, get these new pieces together, Alyssa Smith, and keep finding ways for Jewel Lloyd to be comfortable and score. So I think it's still early in the season. There's still more than half of the season to go. So I think the Aces probably should kind of look at this as, all right, let's experiment. Let's try new things. Let's give people more shot attempts. And if we lose, then it's not the end of the world. But we did it. We lost, but we tried something new, and we can get a bigger sample size of so many other things.
So here's the thing. I think the move is a great move, right? Somebody actually tweeted me today and was like, well, I think a lot of people are questioning the fact that they gave up a number one pick for it. And I said, well, I think, and again, I think it could have just been a sleight of hand just in terms of typing, right? Because we all do it, right? I think sometimes in the sports world, we're moving so fast that we'll say first round pick versus number one pick. And those are completely different things. Where is this 2027 first round pick going to end up? Right? That's the first thing that goes through my mind. And then secondly, let's just say it does end up, let's say in the 8th spot, right? The Aces haven't had a recent history of keeping rookies anyway. There were people calling for Kirsten's head this offseason. And Becky was kind of like, yeah, nah, I like what KB does. Like, I like KB a lot. So from that perspective, you have even the fan base looking at rookies like, oh, yeah, we're excited. And then 2 weeks later, they're like, why are they on the bench?
No, I mean, you hit it on the head. It makes sense. Obviously, they, well, ideally, like you said, where's this pick going to be? Obviously, we want them to be successful. With them to be successful, it's going to be the back end of the round. And, we all know it's difficult for the W to kind of hang on to their rookies. And there's
They cut Harmony
a little roster space. So
they cut Deja.
Yeah.
I just thought about it. They don't even have a spot for Deja right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, you hit it on the head. I mean, you got a good point there. There's a chance they might not even be able to keep the roster spot. So, yeah, why don't we add a potential puzzle piece to what could be missing this season so far? And hopefully it leads to a turnaround in the season. And if it means sacrificing a future pick, who knows who it could be, what it could be, then so be it.
I think Nalissa is going to be good for rebounding. I think Nalissa is going to be good for extending or for stretching the floor. I think Nalissa is going to be good for, as I said before, and this is what I think she's going to be probably best at, is sticking her nose in there, right? And the funny thing is, Becky said earlier this offseason, I'm done with the dogs. I need the wolves. Like, we need like somebody starving, right? We need somebody hungry. This team doesn't look hungry, and this team doesn't look like my pre-season story about this team going from hungry to starving. It doesn't look like it, right? And I had a conversation with my dad last night, and I was like, I'm gonna be completely honest. It feels like, because we were actually talking about the Spurs, right? And my dad was like, I'm surprised Becky didn't go. And I said, I believe that they made the call. I think Becky went her entire career, her entire playing career without winning a ring, right? She wins a ring her first coaching career, or her first coaching year. She follows that up with a back-to-back ring. And then she loses to a New York team that she used to play for. I think Becky is coming back this year, maybe with more conviction than she did in year one of her career. And I think the locker room isn't. And I think it's pissing her off.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about Kelsey Plum and just she takes over a game, but
She looked like she pissed too.
yeah, well, yeah. But Kelsey Plum's such a vocal leader on this team, and they had a lot of vocal leaders, but it was kind of noticeable when Kelsey Plum was doing it, and the team feeding off of her. So yeah, I mean, it just kind of one, it kind of speaks to just obviously how good the whole league is now. Everyone has been catching up to the Aces and building up to that. And we talked about the draft picks that sometimes if you're trying to win now and win a championship, it's kind of tough to have a roster spot for or multiple roster spots for rookies and have them develop, and as opposed to trying to get a veteran that has 3, 4, 5 years, or someone from overseas that has multiple years of playing professionally under their belt, and you just try to get that in as a more seamless transition as opposed to kind of dealing with those rookie mistakes that you can't have, and especially you can't have now when there's been so many inconsistencies with the team's play this year.
And people have made the joke for the past couple of years, and I think that's exactly why we got another breaking news moment this morning, right? In terms of the W welcoming in 3 new franchises. Well, are they new? 3 re-ushering in a couple of franchises, cities of Philadelphia, Cleveland, and Detroit, which is the one that I'm probably most excited about, right? Getting their franchises back. I don't know, man. I don't really have any other words. Like, besides, one of those teams right now can be fully stocked with the free agent pool, and they can compete today. So I'm cool with it either way.
Oh, I mean, yeah, big news. Obviously, expansion is good. It comes with more exposure. With the sport growing and as it continue to push it forward. Yeah, I mean, we seen it kind of like the Valkyrie, pretty decent this season.
Becky name dropped them in one of her pressers recently and was like, they play hard. And another sign that she's pissed, by the way.
Yeah.
But she pointed to an expanded team and was like, they play harder than a lot of teams.
Oh yeah, I mean, it comes with it. Expansion draft. You get it's a legal way of stealing from other teams.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, is it stealing if I put it on the porch?
No, you're right.
Essentially, I put it out on the curb. Like, that's why Kayla Harrison is playing the way she's playing. Like somebody had to go from that Liberty team, right?
Yeah.
I think whoever went from that Liberty team was going to be hot, and she's playing with her hair on fire. Like, she looks insane, right? Just from the standpoint of, respectfully speaking to her, that's not what I envisioned in terms of a role player going to an expansion type situation and becoming a leader like that. Like, she looks like she's done this her entire career. So now I have to go back and do my due diligence to see what her role was on her college team, to go see what her role was on her high school team. Like, now I feel the need to go do that because of this expansion opportunity. These 3 new franchises are only going to give that same opportunity to more players. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what it turns into. Real quick, last point that I'll make about NaLyssa Smith joining the Las Vegas Aces. She can rebound the hell out of the ball, right? And she's gonna put some pressure on her defense to shoot the ball. Just in terms of shaking things up, if you remove Kia Stokes out of the starting lineup, you're putting A'ja Wilson right back in the same situation you had her in the past couple of years, which is playing the 5. And she does not want to play the 5. So it kind of addresses what you need while being counterproductive to your star's biggest point about not playing the 5. So again, Cheyenne Parker Titus, whenever she gets back, obviously she's nursing her way back from a pregnancy. Whenever she gets back, that's going to be the Aces 5, right? And this is a Hall of Fame, pardon. Who knows where her career may take her, but this is an all-star forward, or excuse me, an all-star center who can play, right? In championship situations. At least we believe she can play in championship situations. I know that the Aces are chomping at the bit to get her back, right? So obviously, just from that standpoint alone, now your bench, just the back end of your bench, in terms of your forwards, I should say, you're having NaLyssa Smith and Kia Stokes coming off the bench at that point. Now, at that point, this Aces team looks a little different, feels a little different. You still got Dana Evans, you still got Aaliyah Nye. couple of names that I have not mentioned, right? In order to make this move, Liz Kitley and Tiffany Mitchell were both waived earlier today. The part that sucks the most for me is Tiffany was coming probably off of her best 2 games as an ace.
Yeah, and that just kind of just speaks to kind of what obviously what the Aces are looking for and trying to find the moves and trying to find the pieces to best fit that, right. And you also kind of feel the same way for Liz Kitley, because they drafted her and she was injured, and they kept her on the roster and had the full kind of full recovery while not playing with the Aces and being in that facility and all that. And they kind of couldn't for whatever reason couldn't find that role in that spot to play alongside or back up Asia or whatever. And to Isaiah's point, obviously with the expansion, these players could get some more opportunities to play kind of elsewhere and fill that void, because obviously it's always it's like I just kind of mentioned, it's tough being one of the top teams. You have to manage your roster spots, and you have to get the most out of each spot. And if you feel like you could get an upgrade over one person or two, you kind of have to take it.
Isaiah, do you have anything else on this move from this morning, or
Not-
any of these moves from this morning?
Not exactly. Just to tie it all up together. Sometimes when you're struggling, you got to make a decision to alter your season, and you're looking for that puzzle piece. Like you said, they could be a good rebounder. They could be someone who's maybe like the 4th or 5th option to score. But all that matters is you do that little role, and you might be the missing piece of the puzzle that could change the season around. That's really all I got to say on that.
Going back to that Tommy Edman point, like it's funny enough because I told my dad that I felt like a trade was coming. I don't know if I said this publicly, because I don't. Vegas fans and I'm learning. Vegas, I probably should know this by now. All fans in Vegas, with the exception of none of them, overreact to every single thing. Like maybe everybody. I was sitting here thinking I was gonna say the Knights, and even Isaiah was like, I think everybody here in Vegas overreacts. So I may have said it publicly, but I felt like a trade was coming. I definitely told my dad privately. I said one of two things is either gonna happen. Either when Becky keeps talking about effort, she has a certain face in her mind, and it's getting under her skin. Either that person goes, or they go out and try to get somebody to put a Band-Aid over this right now. We're not really sure what's going wrong, but let's try to put a Band-Aid over it. This feels like a Band-Aid type fix that may essentially soothe the entire wound, right? So we'll see what happens. This group is coming off of a 3-point win over Phoenix in Phoenix. I had the game, so I don't know if you guys actually watched it. I don't know if you guys had to cover it, but did you guys get a chance to watch the game?
A little bit. Watch the comeback at the end there.
Ironically enough.
Yeah.
So let's start it there in the 4th quarter, right? So the Aces avoided that 3rd quarter slump, but it happened to start the 4th quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So you head into the 4th quarter with a 9-point lead. It goes from a 9. First of all, it's a 7-0 run, which is when the timeout comes. That run is pushed to 9-0. Then ultimately it's 17-3. I'm not gonna lie, like Alex and I have sat next to each other for certain sports in general. And the funny thing is, this is why I find it funny when locker rooms make it seem like the reporter wants them to lose, because it's like, depending on what we have to watch, with all due respect to AP, Antonio Pierce, love AP. That season was tough. Like, the games were tough. Shout out to them. Press conferences weren't always weird. Like, they were weird sometimes. The team was like, we gotta focus. We gotta go back to the drum board, whatever the case may be. But the games itself were weird to sit through. I'm watching this 4th quarter, right? And again, it's an away game. So I'm at home, I'm watching the game. This is before I go to an Aviator game. So I'm pulling double duty right now. I got the Nighthawks over here. I got the Aces right here. I put my pencil down at one point, and I'm watching the Aces, and I go, you can't make it up. it's almost like that second half run for the other team is bound to happen. The problem is when it happens, it's like the Aces can't stop a damn nosebleed.
Right. And we've kind of seen everything, seen games this year where it just kind of, like you said, it kind of snowballs. And maybe that's point where Becky kind of points to the efforts. Like, man, like can't, not doing the little things, not getting to a body, not setting a screen. And you kind of felt like, oh man, is that going to happen now? Is Phoenix going to go on this run and just close the game out and go ahead and put this game out of reach? But to the Aces' credit, this is statement kind of type win right for them right now, going out on the road and responding to adversity and not letting a leads slip and not letting a Phoenix run get to them. So it's a looking at Phoenix, obviously one of the top 4 teams in the standings, and the Aces hadn't beaten a top 4 team this year. Obviously, Minnesota and New York are probably a little bit ahead and shoulders ahead of Phoenix and Atlanta, but it's still a point to start off this road trip on a stretch of the year where they're going to play. I think they only have 2 home games this month.
That
Right?
doesn't shock me.
Yeah,
Their start of their schedule was pretty weird too. So
yeah,
the Aces are the only team in recent memory that I've seen start a season with the road game following a championship win.
Yeah.
So anything's on the table with the W.
right, and it's big stretch for them. They'll play the Indiana. They have New York and
They got Washington on that trip.
Connecticut.
That should be the 5.
Yeah, and
Hey, shout out to us.
but this is a big moment as you kind of get to that middle portion of the season, and you get Melissa Smith in, and you try to incorporate things, and if the Aces, if they get out of here like 4-1 on the road trip, that would be a success. If and if one of the losses, it's a close loss to New York, or it's a close loss to a Indiana team with Caitlin Clark back healthy and has a good game or whatever, and that's definitely something that they could kind of hang their hat on if they play well and they get contributors from everybody and get start to this road trip and middle run of the season before we get to the All-Star break.
And again, you kind of just highlighted it right now, right? That did kick off a 5-game road trip for this group, a season-long 5-game road trip, if I recall correctly. Aviators got some season longs in here too. I got to figure all of this out, but it is a season-long 5-game road trip for the Aces. Again, Alex just talked about it a second ago. They're headed to Indiana next. That game is on Thursday. It's a 4 p.m. start. Vegas just took down Indiana inside the T-Mobile Arena by 6. We'll get to some more news inside the T-Mobile Arena to end the show in terms of UFC 317. Currently in the W, and I've been telling this story a couple different ways throughout the season, but the Aces are overall 8-8 now. They're 7th in the WNBA. This is what I was talking about when I said that this league, especially with the expansion, but this league was going to be pretty good, like 10 teams deep, right? Like we were going to have to figure out what the talent level of these teams are because teams are going to struggle at certain moments throughout the year. I want to tell you guys just who's ahead of the Aces and who's behind them, right? So the Aces are sitting at 8-8. Indiana's 8-8 with them. Golden State's 9-7. Right behind everybody is Washington's 8-9 team that just beat Vegas, by the way. So from that perspective alone, this group is hovering, right? And sometimes all you have to do is hover until you have that moment. This team just won back-to-back games for the first time this season, and nobody really said anything, right? What happens when this team wins 5 straight? You would assume at some point it's coming, right? So we'll see. But one of the things we talked about with the Vegas Nighthawks too, you got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat, right? We mentioned it with the Aviators as well. The Aces haven't necessarily beat the teams you're supposed to beat. I think Becky would argue, what teams are you supposed to beat, right? And I would argue if the top teams in the league have that same premise, because there are absolutely some teams that I know New York and Minnesota and even Phoenix look at like, yeah, this should be a dub for us. This is not just being disrespectful to the other team. We're competing for a championship, so nights like this shouldn't get by us. As Asia said before, I think the Aces may have exhausted all of their mulligans. Candace Parker.
Oh yeah.
I got a couple of minutes on Candace Parker really quick before we get to the NBA draft. The entire first hour is pretty much hoop talk. 50 minutes or so. So we'll see what happens. But Candace Parker, number 3 jersey, retired inside of the Staples Center. That jersey will be retired inside of Wintrust Arena as well. Whether anybody else knows it, it's going to happen. Yeah. But with good reason. The Sparks were the first to do it. Take it away.
Yeah, I mean, well, like you know, originally from SoCal area. Yeah, I just remember her, you know, doing her thing in Tennessee, and then I was happy when she got picked up by the Sparks, first pick, and yeah, I mean, her being with Lisa Leslie, I think I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's just being a kid growing up in that area and seeing you know, Kobe and Shaq do what they did, and then on the Sparks end you had Lisa Leslie and with Michael Cooper being the head coach. It was nice. So when you fast forward to the end of the 2000s, and now the Lakers make the trade for Pau Gasol, so now you got Kobe and Pau, and they're back in the finals. The Sparks get their new one and Candace Parker, and you got this you know, 1-2 punch in her and Lisa Leslie, the vet and the rook. MVP, Rookie of the Year, same year while she was pregnant, which no one knew at the time.
Incredible.
And so you know, Lisa mentioned in her speech, you know, it was unfortunate that they never got to win together a championship, but you know, when she passed the torch, Candace took it. She ran. They were able to win a championship in 2016, and yeah, I mean, she's gonna be in the Raptors, hanging there forever, and I'm really happy to see it. It's awesome. It's crazy that as us as viewers and fans get older, we see full careers play out.
Indeed.
So
makes it a little surreal almost, right?
It does.
Candace mentioned something leading into her jersey retirement. She said to think that the Shaqs of the world, the Kobe's of the world, the Wilts of the world, right? Like to think that there's gonna, she said the Lisa Leslie's of the world. She said to think that the number 3 Parker jersey is gonna be up there with it. Like it's kind of crazy to her. And I kind of sat back and I thought about what Isaiah kind of just said. Yeah, in terms of LA lore, you belong there. That's kind of the way that it should be done. You talked about that championship in LA, right? I have to double check too, because I was about to say I know she was the first. She may still be the only player to win a championship for 3 different franchises. She did it in LA, she did it in Chicago, she did it here with Vegas.
Right.
Again, this is a former teammate of A'ja Wilson, but I say this all the time. When this is all said and done, I think A'ja will have the best resume, right? I have also said that Diana Taurasi is my GOAT, right? Catch me on any other day, Candace Parker is the answer. And the reason why is because I believe that's who has the best resume, probably in basketball right now. Just go look at her resume. From high school to now, that damn thing looks never ending. And the fact that Candace is as humble as she is, she don't really gotta be.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, she was. I mean, I'm just looking at it. You know. It's a long list. All these things from college.
2 of these.
Two-time Gatorade Player of the Year in high school. 2-time College Player of the Year. 2 NCAA championships. All these 2-time WNBA MVP. 7-time All-Star. 7-time first team All WNBA. Just so so extensive and so long, and in a way, I mean, she was kind of before everything kind of exploded kind of these last couple of years. I mean, she was like the face of the WNBA.
Sure.
I mean, she was one of those players that a non-WNBA fan or someone who didn't pay attention to the league could notice, right? And mention the career at Tennessee. I remember growing up, just I was always interested in like the women's college basketball tournament. I remember one of my first kind of memories that was her Tennessee teams and what they did and all that. And yeah, man, she definitely earned it. And she's doing a good job, commentating now. Gonna think with Prime when they get the NBA. So that'll be cool to see. Cool that she's still out there and being a voice in a men's sport now.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, round of applause for Candace Parker. Just legend in a couple of different facets, right? Sticking with hoops, but moving over to the NBA really quick. The NBA draft took place. First of all, everything stopped. Do I have an alarm? So I don't want to like scare anybody, but I wanted to just see if it worked. So I know everybody's at home like, what the hell just happened? But I know Jaren Jackson signed a lucrative 5-year extension in Memphis. I said what I said about if I was the Lakers, I was making that phone call. I have another name for the Lakers too. We'll see if I can get to it on the show. But there's a couple different ways that you can go about this in terms of free agency, and it's already begun. But that 5-year deal for Jaren Jackson is for $240 million, if I recall correctly. And yeah, I see some things happening right now. You guys got anything you want to get to right now? Otherwise, I'll get to one.
You doing right now?
You do?
I just
Who
saw
got one?
I just saw one pop up.
It might be for your Lakers, huh?
It is, yeah.
Okay, talk to me.
You go ahead.
No, I do. No, this is fine.
Okay. Oh, I just saw right now when you set the alarm off. Jake LaRavia, is that how you say his name?
Think it might be LaRavia.
LaRavia.
I could be wrong.
I could have sworn I remember him being with the Grizzlies, but I guess he was traded to Sacramento last season. 2-year, $12 million deal with the Lakers.
Okay.
So
I mean, Jake is somebody that if you've been to summer league, especially recently, like you'll watch him play and be like, I don't know, dog. That looks like JJ Redick to me. He can shoot the hell out of the ball. He's a taller player. Cuts a lot more. Obviously, he can put the ball on the ground a lot more. Again, with all due respect, when I see these other guys balling out in places like a OKC or like a Memphis, whenever they go to a big time situation, that's one thing. But when you go to a big time situation and they're ready to win, that's another thing, right? So the 8 points that he averaged in Memphis, he'll get obliterated for averaging 6 with the Lakers. And I'm not saying that those were the numbers, but you guys kind of get where I'm going with it. The Lakers got to do something because Dorian Finney-Smith is now a Rocket after signing a $53 million deal. So Alex said that we were going to have live breaks during this show, and we're probably going to have a couple more, right? So I'm excited to see what happens. This is finally happening. I don't know why it didn't happen a year ago, but the Utah Jazz are finally buying out Jordan Clarkson. Finally. So Jordan Clarkson can go somewhere else and be productive because he's been a productive player his entire career.
Yeah.
And I hated the fact that he was in Utah. I was just like, please get him out of Utah. Him and Colin Sexton want to do the same thing. This isn't going to work. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and get to the next topic. Speaking of guys heading to the NBA, right? Utah is in that top 5. I want to talk about top 5 players. Where do we start when it comes to Cooper Flagg? You're wearing a USA shirt, so I'm starting there. Cooper Flagg played with Team USA heading into this year's Olympics, and after day 1, Kevin Durant came out and was like, yeah, that kid, that one right there that we know is going to be number 1, he's ready today. Like, he could play right now. So for Kevin Durant to go out there and say that, and this is what's so interesting. I'm at work, right? I'm in a bar. It's happening. Game is happening. I'm sitting over here watching the Aces play the Connecticut Sun. Got my eye on the draft. My manager comes over and was like, well, he's going to Dallas, right? Yeah, okay, well, why am I blanking? They just traded Luka. I was like, AD. He was like, oh, yeah, I forgot. I don't know why I forgot, but that's okay. That's AD. I said, Kyrie's hurt half the year, but Kyrie is there. He just looked at me. I said, PJ Washington is still there. I said, Daniel Gafford is still there. I said, Derek Lively is still there. It took me a week later to realize Klay Thompson is there. Dog, y'all can say what y'all want about Dallas. I know everybody's mad about the Luka trade, but I've said it for quite some time. If they keep Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively and they just add pieces around what they have, I don't know that Dallas can't win a championship before the Lakers can.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I want to touch on that. I feel this is embarrassing. But like Shaq did one time on the, Inside the NBA. And this is live. I have to run to the bathroom real fast.
How'd you had a topic?
No, I'm sorry.
Nah, have at it. This is what happens with a 3-man weave. We can actually keep this going for now, so we're actually good. But again, like I said before, people have said before that the Lakers obviously getting Luka Doncic, which I do believe they won the trade ultimately, right? I think the way that the trade is won looks differently. I think the Lakers ultimately win more championships. I've been pretty consistent that Dallas wins the first one.
Yeah, I mean, especially this you have your three guys, your big three or so are all a little bit younger as opposed to the Lakers with LeBron being older, right? And you've got that Cooper Flag on the young first deal where it's not as much money, but that's a big talking point in the NFL with rookie quarterbacks and all that. So he's got a little bit, you got some possible money you could play with to extend or give extension to some of those role players or go get somebody or all that. And I mean, you touched on it, Cooper Flag getting the praise from all those NBA guys and just getting buckets on those NBA guys at USA training camp. And that speaks.
Y'all getting ready for the world.
Right.
And you can't stop my floater. Like, bro, yeah, I couldn't imagine what confidence he has going. And you gave me Anthony Davis?
Yeah.
I don't care if he's hurt for the year. You gave me Kyrie.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a last resort, I have Klay Thompson right here.
Right.
If I'm Cooper Flag, I'm like, hey, all I need to do is give you 12.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably going to be, that's big for him. That's there's just already going to be all these expectations and everything on him, and to know that he could lean on a Klay or an Anthony Davis or, have a Kyrie, even though he's going to be hurt. Right. And to have that off the court type of thing. Right. And develop that relationship and just be more comfortable and confident in his environment. And if you do anything you can to get a little bit of pressure off him, I think that could that help them. And I mean, you look at the West, of course, everyone's going to look at Oklahoma City and, they'll see how Houston is. But I mean, honestly, after Oklahoma City, you could make a case for several teams to be that 2 or that 3. So I don't think it's entirely out of the realm that if everyone's healthy and contributes for Dallas, that they'll be a top 4 seed. They'll be in there. They'll be in a position where it's like, oh man, they're back at the Western Conference Finals, and they got a shot to play get to the NBA Finals again.
I want to see what Cooper Flag looks like after a season, maybe a half season of, like you said before, just learning from Kyrie. Because he is somebody that on the break, now I don't expect him to be somebody that's breaking down everybody with his handles, right? He doesn't strike me as that. We've seen Chet Holmgren at the top of the key do a little tween every now and again, right? So I expect Cooper to absolutely do it. What happens when Cooper Flag is on the fast break and what happens if he does the sham god? What happens if he does a behind the back on a fast break and he dumps it off as opposed to finishing at the rim? I want to know what half a season of being around Kyrie Irving looks like for Cooper. He has all the athleticism in the world. So a lot of people are talking about what he's going to be able to do in terms of scoring the basketball. I want to know what he's going to be able to do in terms of dribbling the basketball and getting to his spots. And bigger than that, I want to know what type of developer he turns into in terms of a passer. Kyrie Irving, for me, people talk about, yes, he dribbles the hell out of the ball, whatever the case may be. If you watch Kyrie play basketball, the times that I've seen Kyrie be a ball pounder is when you can almost feel it radiating through the screen. He didn't trust his teammates. We've seen Kyrie do that a lot early, Cleveland, right? We've seen Kyrie do that in Brooklyn when everybody was hurt. We've seen Kyrie do that in certain moments. Going back to that Kelsey Plum point, right? In terms of saying these 3 possessions are mine. Kyrie is a prime example of that. Things are going left. Everybody move. These next 4 possessions, nobody's touching the ball. I'm going to go do what I need to do. So to see the way he deciphers a game and he breaks down a game, I think that's only going to make Cooper Flag much more dangerous.
Right. And then that's just sort of the thing where just adding those elements of that game and just learning on the fly and just he's just going to learn so much by actually playing in games and getting those real game situations. And he'll have a shot to show his athleticism and just continue to add to his arsenal and all that. And just being so athletically going to be can get score in just so many ways and already going to be a matchup nightmare for some of these guys. And if you just add those little things to your game that you have make sure to keep everyone honest, as opposed to, oh, he's just gonna go one on one right here, and as opposed to, okay, well, we got to make sure we know where Clay is, we got to make sure we know what Anthony Davis is in case he spins out of something and gets a nice pass off. So yeah, I mean, this first year, I mean, sure, there's going to be rookie struggles and all that, but kind of year 2 and year 3 will be kind of the one big thing to see what does he add to his game, what are his tendencies, what is he still struggling on. And it's going to be big for Dallas too, to see how they want to put guys around him. That first trade trade deadline maybe in the NBA is going to be really interesting to see where they're at and how Cooper's developed, of who they could maybe try to trade or add or get to their team. And if they're in a position where it's like, oh man, Dallas, they could, they've been giving it to Oklahoma City. It's like, okay, they could win a championship this year with Cooper Flag as a rookie. How do they respond to that? But we'll see how that all plays out.
And the interesting thing is too, right? We talk about what's good for the league, right? What's good for the league? What's good for the league? I get this eerie feeling that, and I've said this before, but when all Texas teams are good, that helps the league as well. So we're talking about Dallas possibly still staying atop of the top half of the league after trading away a 25-year-old superstar in Luka Doncic, and now you already see what's happening in San Antonio, right? It looked like, okay, you got Victor, okay, you got Castle. Okay, wait a minute. This team is looking like it's just, now again, we've seen teams try to rebuild with a 28-year-old, try to rebuild with a 31-year-old. Aside from Harrison Barnes, San Antonio was like, we're going young, right? The Chris Paul move was really interesting for me. Aside from that, I'm sitting here watching too much news is happening right now. Did you get the notification about the WNBA All-Stars?
I did, yeah, I saw that.
So is that
before we
okay? So
got
that's
in,
legit.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll look at it in a second because I haven't even looked yet. I'll do it in a second. We'll bring that news to you guys. Breaking news in a second. Then damn near forgot my point. San Antonio.
San Antonio,
Teams
yeah.
being good.
Texas,
Thank you.
Texas,
Teams being
yeah.
good. And now you're adding Dylan Harper to that young core again. Devin Vassell. We talked about Stephon Castle. We talked about Victor Wembanyama. I don't know why I forgot Vic. Jeremy Sohan. Again, you can kind of start to go down the list, and I'm just naming their starters, right? You're adding Dylan Harper to that. Again, you have some rookies going into some situations where they don't have to be the guy right away. I don't got to be the second guy. I don't really got to be the third guy. Like, we can figure this out. I forgot De'Aaron Fox, and that is insane.
Yeah,
this San Antonio team looks like they're headed towards something.
Right. I mean, it's going to be it's going to just be fun to watch how the West all plays out and how all these guys develop, and just there's a lot of good teams, and someone's going to be in that spot where they're in the play-in, or they maybe even miss the playoffs, right? And if all these good teams kind of beating up on each other, or if hopefully there's not, but if there's injuries, and that could throw off a team's type of development and chemistry and all that. But yeah, I mean, San Antonio, you see Houston, these Texas teams with having their guy and having their, like it's, Wemby and De'Aaron Fox being those guys that are a little more seasoned and experienced, and you got Kevin Durant with the young guys, and you have Cooper Flag with the veterans. It's not where it's got to be on one guy's shoulders, and it's going to be interesting to see who steps up and who are some other guys that develop into top players for those teams. But all in all, this is this could be these kind of these rookie classes. It's been kind of top heavy, and maybe those 2nd through 5 picks don't necessarily get all the attention because you've kind of been, people have kind of been down like, oh, some of these guys are international. Where were they from in college? But this could be best case scenario for some of them, and a lot of them like don't have to step in a situation like LeBron or an Anthony Davis where you have to be the number one guy. You have to have the center of attention. You could just truly just develop, right? I mean, we talk about it with the WNBA picks. It's sometimes you don't get that chance to develop, and it kind of just throws everything off. So these guys will have a chance to really develop. Well, there's obviously going to be pressure and expectations to perform well for teams that are trying to get in the playoffs and maybe win a championship. They can, they'll have that more leeway and cushion with some of those veteran guys and good coaching and all that around them.
And I'm happy that you said that because that goes into the number 3 overall pick, VJ Edgecombe, right? And first thing that stood out to me, and this is what's interesting about a lot of people, right? Some people get to the college or get to the NBA from college and their game tapers off, right? Like it starts, they start to find their league average, whatever the college version of that league average, they find it. The one thing that stood out to me was the one steal a game in college for VJ. I said, that's a number that can go up at the next level. And when I saw that, I said, I don't know how dynamic of a scorer he can become, right? But I mentioned it before. I was obviously wrong. I said the first big cog to kind of fall in this trade situation, which this offseason, I think there are going to be a lot of trades. I thought was going to be Paul George. I was wrong. It was Kevin Durant. Why are you smiling?
This has got a Shams note.
What is happening?
D'Angelo Russell, Dallas agreed a 2-year, $13 million deal.
I like it. I like the deal, brother. I like the deal. That's an opportunity for him. Who is D'Angelo Russell's agent? We have to figure that out because that man continues to find himself in a situation where he's never locked up for a long time, but he's always locked up in a situation where I can go prove myself. And whenever you need me to leave, cool. I've raised my stock to where somebody else is going to want me, right? So he went to Golden State almost. It felt like this is going to be a rental. They're going to trade him at some point, right? And they traded him rather quickly. So again, I like this deal, and I like the fact that he continues to find himself in situations where he can go out there and prove himself and earn himself more money. The VJ Edgecombe thing is interesting to me because I do feel like Philadelphia's. You know what's interesting? Let's say Philly blows it up. I still think Paul George goes before Joel Embiid. We've been with this guy. We paid this guy, right? We're paying you too, but we've had you for a year. Even if they want to get rid of him after next year, 2 year, whatever the case may be, I think they're going to be a lot quicker to come off of Paul George than somebody else. Let's just say you get to a situation where nobody wants to trade for Paul George. And you have to work on a buyout. That buyout would be absolutely disgusting to the point to where Paul George can sign with a Laker team or can sign with a Knick team where I don't have to take that much. I didn't got an extra 3-year salary from them because they don't want me there. I don't know what's happening with the Paul George situation. You know what I'm paying attention to? And I've said this before. I said, if I was the Toronto Raptors, I said, I'm watching exactly what's going on in Philly because Pascal Siakam and Joel Embiid are both from the Cameroon. I said, if I was Masai Ujiri and I'm trying to keep this job, this is a couple years ago, I said, I'm trying to keep this. That might be one more little lifeboat. It might possibly be one of those situations where we can get something from this. Pascal ends up in Indiana. Indiana makes a run to the finals before Philadelphia does. If I'm Indiana, every day this offseason, I'm on the phone with Philly. What do y'all want for Joel? Because it doesn't look like it's going to work. So what do you need for him? Who do you need for him? Could be Jarace Walker. Could be Aaron E. Smith. Not just like that. I'm thinking about picks, right? We've seen guys go for 2 first rounders, 1 first rounder, 4 second rounders. I don't know that the Pacers couldn't muscle out something where they keep Nembhard, Pascal, Obi. Like, I don't know that they couldn't muscle that out. I was extremely shocked that trade went down with Luka. Yes, it's Luka, right? But I was just looking around and was like, they kept both centers and PJ Washington. I know they gave up Luka. But you adding AD to PJ Washington and those 2 centers? I don't know, dog. Kind of the same situation in terms of Indy, right? Like, I don't think because Tyrese Halliburton is going to miss the season that Indiana is going to concede. There's a lot of guards over in San Antonio. I don't know that they don't place a call about Devin Vassell. I don't know. So just from that standpoint, I don't think Philly's going to sit still either. Philly might be trying to do the opposite, similar to what Vegas did to earlier today. They might be looking at a Philadelphia or a Dallas team saying, actually, we want that piece. We want that one right there. So who knows exactly what Dallas has? I mean, what Philadelphia has. I just think the VJ Edgecombe, for me, definitely rushed my clock on PG a little bit. Number 4 overall pick, right? Con Knuckle from Duke. I gotta be completely honest with you. I am about 4 years running saying this, and if I'm not 4 years running, I'm definitely 3 years running saying this. I don't know what the hell they're doing in Charlotte. I still don't know.
Do they know?
Here's the thing. I don't get paid to know. They say they do. Here's the thing, and here's the messed up part. If you're a Charlotte fan listening to this, shout out to you. But if you're a Charlotte fan listening to this, I have one thing to say, and this you probably agree with me. The issue is not the picks. Brandon Miller was a good pick. LaMelo Ball was a good pick. The issue is not the picks. The issue is that I don't think you guys have any idea what to do with them.
Yeah, I mean, you could have all these number 1 picks. I mean, we kind of saw it with Philadelphia, right? They had all these, they tanked and they got all these guys, and there were some guys that just didn't work out ultimately, like Markelle Fultz or Ben
Noel.
or Nerlens Noel, and Ben Simmons isn't there anymore, right? And it's just, how do you execute and get that final sort of steps? How do you get those role guys around them? How do you get that right coach to be with them? How do you get those last steps, right? Where we've seen Philly, they were right on the cusp, or they would get to the semifinals, but couldn't get to the conference finals or NBA finals, and that's guys, it's kind of sort of easy sometimes to draft the best player, but what's your plan for them? You kind of say, all right, well, he's just gonna
Go out there and
score. We're gonna give him 30 shot attempts. What does everything else look around them? What's your 5-year vision with that person and the team as a whole to put them in a position to be successful? And then ultimately kind of just end up wasting talent. It's like, man, we had those 5, 6, 7 years with them and we didn't do anything.
And I actually I'm on Twitter trying to make sure that our live stream is looking the way it needs to look. People are still retweeting what Becky Hammon said about NaLyssa Smith. And that won't be the biggest news today. I already don't know if it is the biggest news today already. But we're in hour number 2 of the Talk That Talk radio show. I'm Terrell. That's Alex. That's Isaiah.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Commercial break.
And the funny thing is, too,
I apologize.
we don't have one in the actual suite, right? And there's a model one in the back, and they even had to put a sign up and was like, "This is not a real, like, don't do it, like, don't do anything here." So I'm always fearful whenever people leave the suite, because I'm like, it's a Monday, and you guys don't have a key card to get back in. So that's why I was like, oh damn, like he just left the suite. I don't know if he's gonna be able to get back in. So that's why I was like, in the back of my mind, I was like, I might have to go open that door. But obviously, we're in hour number 2 of the Talk That Talk radio show. Finishing up at the top 5 of the NBA draft. We're actually at number 5 of the NBA draft in terms of Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey goes to Utah. Speaking of teams that I don't know what they're doing, Utah is absolutely one of those teams.
Well, okay, I'm back, so I apologize for stepping out. But yeah, I mean, Utah, really strange, obviously, because they drafted Ace Bailey. He made it seem like he didn't really want to go in the top 5, but they took him anyways. And you know, and I know when he got introductory press conference in Utah. I don't know if it was yesterday or a few days ago now, but he said that he's happy to be there in Utah. He said when he got off the plane and he saw the scenery, the mountains, he thought it looked fake, like almost like it was a painting.
Absolutely.
So I think maybe that could be something he grows to like or appreciate that. I don't know if that's him saving face or not, but I mean, he's there now. Let's see what happens. And he's going to be on the court pretty soon. I mean, because our Vegas Summer League starts on the 10th, but Utah Summer League starts on the 5th, if I remember correctly. So he's going to be on the court by the end of this week in Utah. So yeah, let's see how that happens, how that plays out. But I did like the other move. I know we're mainly talking about the top 5.
Well, hold on before we do that, because we're gonna stay on this Ace Bailey thing for a second.
Okay.
So actually, before I even do it, Alex, do you have anything on Ace Bailey before I go?
No, I'll let you go.
I don't like that. I don't. He passed the buck way too fast. He was like, "Yeah, no, you got it." All right. Where do I start?
Well, are you touching on on the court stuff or off the court?
I've already said it before. I think the thing with Ace Bailey is, and let's talk about his play for a second. Ace Bailey is a hell of a player. I think Ace Bailey at Rutgers last season, I think as bad as they were, I think they could have won a lot more games if Ace Bailey wasn't given the green light to do what the hell he wanted. And I say that as respectfully as I know how. Like I said, Ace has the talent, right? I watched Ace take some shots last season that almost made me feel like he should do another year in school. I knew it wasn't going to happen, but the IQ bothered the hell out of me. Here's what I want to add to it. Because of that, you couldn't go to a better situation in Utah where you can go do what the hell you need to do to figure out what your footing is. You can go take 12 shots a game, 18 shots a game, 13 shots a game. Whatever you want to do, you'll probably be in a position to do it in Utah. As soon as I saw the Walter Clayton Jr. pick, I said, well, Colin Sexton is out of here. Because they're essentially going to do the same thing. I said, so you have these guards, you go get somebody like an Isaiah Collier, right, who you want to be your point guard. Jordan Clarkson is soon to be out of there. And then he's out of there now, right? So let's just assume that he didn't want to go to Utah. Why not? You get what I mean? And yes, there are some players that they want to win right. Every player, I'm assuming, wants to win right away. Ace could get to Utah, ball out for 3 seasons, and be like, what am I doing here? Like, we ain't went out to go make a move. We haven't been hired in 13, but go there. Go be there. And let me also toy with the idea that he did not want to go to Utah. You know what workout I wouldn't have missed then? Philly, who picked in front of Utah. There's one way to ensure, the best way to ensure that you don't go where you don't want to go is you're probably a little smoother with the teams that are in front of them. The VJ Edgecombe pick, no matter how much I like the pick, no matter how much I think he's about to learn from PG on the defensive end, that spot was reserved for Ace. And it's almost like, and this is where I want to expand it. It's almost like the Kent pissed it away. And here's my thing. 85% of stories that I've heard at this level about kids not wanting to play for a certain team at the next level is not the kid. It's their camp. This is what I will also say. For the people that obviously work the internet so well that they go out and they find Ace's representation. Here's where I have to toe the line, because in my opinion, and for those who know me, nobody knows getting the looks, getting the stares, getting the feeling that you don't belong more than me, considering the media company that I started in this city, right? So nobody knows more than me how it feels to feel like the room is waiting for you to mess up, right? I'll tell you guys this one story since we're talking summer league. Let me tell you guys this summer league story. My first summer league, I'm a college kid, right? I'm like, I want to be rebellious, but I obviously want to show that like I'm here to stay, right? One of the first days I wear my half-baked shirt. No regrets. Not a single one. Even got compliments on the shirt. That's just culturally reading the room, right? Day after that, it's hot as hell. I throw on a visor. The visor has a middle finger on it. And I was at the Cox Pavilion, and I was sitting down, and I was like, I had an internal conversation with myself. I said, don't press your luck. The half-baked shirt was a good touch. What's the hat for? And I took it off. And I thought about it and was like, I don't need to overdo it. I look the way I do. I conduct work the way I do. People are going to remember me for what they remember me for. Fast forward to this Ace Bailey situation. I didn't like the fact that the video of him sitting in the front of his car went viral. Because what is he doing that makes you guys so uncomfortable? What should make you guys more uncomfortable is the fact that that man has one client. Now, I'm here to say that you got to start somewhere. So I've had one sponsor. I've had one co-host. We all have to start somewhere. So I'm not mad at him for having one. But it should also raise everybody's eyebrows and their ears a little bit that he's not NBA certified. However, this is a black agent. So we know how the league treats black agents. Let's go talk to Rich Paul about it. So I'm not even too mad at that, right? And this is where it gets uncomfortable, but this is where people inject themselves in situations where now we have to have uncomfortable conversations about real life. But to find out that that's Sharife Cooper's dad, as somebody who's covered Sharife Cooper, now I have different questions about why Sharife Cooper is not playing in this league. Because if you think about talent, there's no reason in hell why Sharife Cooper shouldn't be playing in this league. Why does everybody, now it's two people that we can say that is connected to this Omar Cooper, right? Why do the two stories that we have about you feel the way that they do? Now that's why your video goes viral and people are looking at you with the sketchy. I don't know. I'll give you another example. And by the way, I was ahead of my time. At Cerritos, cold as hell. Cerritos, if you guys ever been in Norwalk, it's cold as a mug. Cold as all hell. I said, you know what? I work for the newspaper. I said, so I want to see what the reaction would be. I wore a ski mask to school. This is before the shiesty. This is before everything else. Everybody, including campus police, walked by and just looked at me. I said, is nobody going to say a word? Halfway through the day, I'm sitting there and I'm like, do you want them to say a word? Just take it off. What's the point that you're trying to prove? If Omar Cooper understands that he has one representative, the one thing that I have to do as his agent is to make sure at the very least we're not the worst story that comes out of the draft. You shouldn't be one of them, but we can guarantee we cannot be the worst. We can't do it. When I started this media company, Isaiah, when you kind of joined on, everything was kind of rocking and rolling, but we knew this from the UNLV Scarlet and Grape Free Press days. We have no wiggle room. They're waiting to get rid of us. Mm-hmm. When I started this media company, they're waiting, y'all. So we can give them every opportunity to snatch and revoke, or we could have them look and be like, well, damn, I guess this person really belongs. I think Ace is going to go to Utah and ball the hell out. I think 5 years from now, when you ask Ace about this process, he's going to have a completely different outlook.
Well, you brought up a good point. Sometimes, or most times, it's not. I mean, the kid's only 18, right? If that. So maybe
18 or 19, one of them.
Maybe it is. It could be the camp. The people representing him, the agents. I think is that kind of what you were.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, at the end of the day, if Ace is saying I'm trying not to get nobody in trouble.
It's true. It's slippery slope.
Not about this situation per se, but where do you guys think we get the news from? Like, if Ace is saying, "Oh no, I wanted to be in Utah," you knew what was being said. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why you didn't correct it before the draft, because it was coming from your camp. That's why you never went on record to correct it. So when I think that was you that just said, what he said during his introductory, maybe that was you, that said when he was talking to his introductory press conference, he might have been saving face. That's exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. I'm here now. You want to know who else just did it? Caleb Williams. I ain't got a choice. I'm here, dog.
Yeah.
When everybody said that he got off the plane and they was like, oh, Ace is smiling, I have no choice. I remember when I was in my relationship, right, and we moved out here to Vegas, my ex, or my girl at the time, I can't deal with people that are pessimistic, me personally. And if we can't change the situation, we can't change the situation. We opted to come to UNLV. First month here, all she did was talk about how there was no beach. I looked out the window. Hey, I ain't seen a mountain this close in my fucking life. And you're talking about what we don't have. You can make the most of the situation you're in, or you cannot be in it. You chose to come here knowing there was no beach. Ace, you chose to not go to them your camp allowed you to not go to them other workouts knowing that Utah was an option. I would have went to Dallas. Hey, I know y'all want Cooper, but let me just show you a little 1-2 real quick. I would have showed everybody something and then not went to Utah to let them know I don't really want to be here. But you can't purposely be the problem. And this is again why I'm so heated about it. I don't think Ace had a say-so in this at all. That's the worst part. I think he has no problem with Utah. Do I think, like most of us in this room, if we could all hoop and you said pick a team, Utah's probably last on all of our lists. It just is what it is. If you've watched hoops for the last 3 years, it should be last on your list. I believe Ace wants to go to a situation. He even said it. I think what came out of his camp in terms of him wanting to be like the focal point, I believe it. I don't know if you should say that as a rookie, but I believe him. You're in a situation where you're the focal point. I don't think Ace really got an issue with this. But at the same time, Alex, Isaiah, you just brought it up. At 18, 19 years old, I was told things by people in my family that made me like, well, maybe I don't want to go there. Maybe I do want to try this out. Maybe I don't want to try this. What's going to end up happening? And this is what's so funny. They showed Ace right before Utah took him. And I laughed because I was behind the bar, right? I was making a drink. And you think something and you say it out loud? Mm-hmm. I said, it looks like a man that knows it's about to fire his representation. And my bar rail laughed. And I was like, in the back of my mind, I was like, that was a thought that leaked out. But that looked like somebody that was ready to fire his representation. I think when that third pick happened, he was like, you said if I hold their feet to the fire that they was going to do it anyway. Didn't happen. I think his welcome to the NBA moment happened on draft night. We can move on. We can talk Aviators. If you guys got any other basketball news, we can get to it. If not, I got Aviators. And that leads into athletics. We'll end with Nighthawk, or we'll have Nighthawk talk as we end with mixed martial arts. Anything?
I mean, do you, Alex? Or
I mean, I have Shams' Twitter page. Let me see. Okay, here it is.
This is dope.
The Nuggets are trading Michael Porter Jr. and unprotected 2032 first round pick to the Brooklyn Nets for Cam Johnson.
oh, okay,
Hmm.
okay.
I like when trades happen and all I have is more questions. Because what does that mean about Aaron Gordon?
Well, I feel like Cam Johnson
He's gonna play the 3?
he could do what Michael Porter Jr. does, and I mean, here's the thing. I love both those players.
Yeah.
But I think MPJ, he kind of has an injury history. It's a little bit more shaky. I think Cam Johnson, sometimes he gets hurt. I mean, everyone gets hurt. Everyone
Yeah.
gets hurt for the most part. I think
Except for Michael Bridges. Knock on wood.
I go with. But I believe Cam could do what MPJ does, but maybe just
He's gonna try harder on defense for sure.
he's not as he's not as injury riddled. So I can see that being a good move by Denver, trying to stay competitive in the West.
I'm telling you something, brother. I just got a weird feeling that Aaron Gordon's not safe, but we can keep going.
Oh yeah, go ahead. What else?
I also think they might blow up that whole damn team. So what do I know? I could be wrong.
What else?
I want to do that.
There's a lot of these, but
Okay.
I'm not doing it every time.
all right, let me just rapid fire go through a couple. Free agent Bruce Brown Jr. agreed to a 1-year deal with the Denver Nuggets. He was on the
Back to
2023 championship team. Cleveland had a great year. Ty Jerome, guard, agrees to a 3-year deal with Memphis. Something else just popped up. Free agent center Clint Capella has agreed to a 3-year deal. Well, he'll go back to Houston.
Okay.
The Rockets.
Mhm.
I don't know. The Rockets. Any more trades right now? I know Shams is just tweeting. I know he's just
He's
tweeting
just
away.
tweeting stuff.
I know he's just
Don't
going
see
in
any.
right
The
now.
last trade was the Michael Porter Jr. trade.
I hate to say it, but Michael Porter Jr., and this is just me throwing something at a wall. People talked about what he might be. People talked about the player he might be after he got his first contract, right? And then when he won his first ring, a lot of people pointed to what that year looked like the following year. And they was just like, he doesn't look like he's invested anymore, right? Like, shout out to Luke Walton, but Luke had back issues like his dad. Luke signed that initial contract, or signed that first big contract, and he balled that year, right? Immediately after signing that contract, Luke was never the same player. I don't like the fact that Michael Porter Jr. is going to Brooklyn. Now, I'm trying to choose my words wisely, because you never want to question an athlete's heart, right? And want to get out there. However, I have talked to several athletes, and when you're injured in a situation like Golden State, and you're injured in a situation like LA, you're injured in a situation like Philly, I got to get back because I might be the difference. Now, if I'm not on the court and we win 27 games, and then I'm on the court and we win 31,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm rushing to get back on the court for? Michael Porter Jr. going to a Brooklyn team that I feel like is going to be piss poor next season makes me feel like Michael Porter Jr. might take this year to be like, yeah, I'm gonna play 34 games and just chill. I'm gonna go ahead and rest up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with that. Sadly, like I said, I like MPJ a lot. I liked him when he was in high school,
He's a baller.
and when he was in college, it sucked because that's when his back problems really started.
Mhm.
But I remember talking to him at summer league,
Mhm.
and I mean, he was He seemed like a really cool, like chill, good spirits guy.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see what he's.
I mean, what he
done with the
said
Braves.
last season too, during like I think he has a pod. He said last season too, right around when Mike Malone got fired, he was like, "Dog, if we don't do something, like all of us are out of here." Like he was kind of laughing about it and was like, "I'm out of here." Like we all know. So just from that standpoint alone, he can go in there with a different attitude and go in there and play 74 games as opposed to 34 and go out there and be Michael Porter Jr. that we believe that he can be, right? I don't think that means that he tries any harder on defense, but we might have a situation where Cam Thomas is taking 20 shots, Michael Porter Jr. is taking 18. So I don't know. Again, we'll see what it ultimately boils down to, but a lot going on in the NBA for damn sure.
Was there any other like kind of needle move a free agent?
Well, let me
The
refresh.
Rockets are stocking up, and I'm telling you, having a good head coach matters.
Yeah.
All of these moves, in my humble opinion, all of these moves have to do with Ime Udoka.
Oh, yeah.
Every single one of them.
Mhm.
And I also think really quick too, Ime Udoka, when I talked about evaluating quickly, I think early on last season, he knew like if I can't duplicate Dillon Brooks, I'm not getting rid of Dillon Brooks. But I think 3 or 4 months in, he was like, he got to go. And I like Dillon. You guys know how I feel about Dillon, but I think at some point, Ime is a quick judge of talent. And I think he was looking around like, yeah, you might have to go. Dillon Brooks played the 4 at certain times last season. A lot of times last season. So now what happens if KD can go back to playing the traditional 3? Because Sengun is at the 4, Clint Capella's at the 5.
Don't they also have Steven Adams, or am I wrong?
I think they do, but he might be a free agent now.
Oh, okay.
But Amin is going to be your 2 then.
And is Fred 1?
Fred would be your 1.
That's good.
I'm not mad at that.
Oh.
You're getting your scoring from your forward spots. You have Fred to kind of still be your conductor and still can give you some points too, but Amin is going to be your defender. You have your perimeter defender. You have your paint defender. I have to go back and see what that bench looks like right now. I'm sure they're going to fill it out, right? But I haven't mentioned Dorian Finney-Smith, who's going to be on that team. So, I don't know, man. This is why everybody that was asking me why I felt the way I did after my Pacers Game 7, because I don't know if we're going to go back. That's why. On days like this, it makes you look at everybody like they're a favorite, right? Speaking of being a favorite, the Aviators continue to pump out wins. 4th series this season of at least 5 wins. 2nd straight 5-win series. 5 straight wins for the Aviators. They opened the second half with a loss at home to Albuquerque and then followed that up with 5 consecutive victories over the Isotopes. They went 5-1 this week. They are currently tied for first place in the second half of the minor league baseball season. Keep in mind, guys, if the Aviators win this second half as well as the first half, which they've already done, merch is already out. I just seen them tweet that out a second ago. Then they go to the second place team. So as it presently stands, El Paso is the second place team with a 5-1 overall record. Oklahoma City, of course, the comments of the Dodgers organization are on the outside looking in terms of those top spots. They are 4-2. But it matters that the Aviators lost 1 series, outright 1 series in the first half, and it was to Oklahoma City. I think that's important to note. Oklahoma City was the second place team in the first half. So if they were to be the winners of the second half or the consolation winners of the second half, then we would get OKC and Vegas in the playoffs. I think I'd sign up for 5 games of that. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if Fran and the Aviators would, but just from the outside looking in and just in terms of storyline, I wouldn't mind seeing that. But the 9-game homestand continues tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Continues tomorrow from Las Vegas Ballpark with that same OKC Comet team coming to town. It's our typical, and I mentioned it last month, but it's our typical and traditional 4th of July meeting with the Dodgers AAA affiliate. You get a home and home series. So we get 3 home games, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then on the back end of the series, which would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those games take place in Oklahoma City at Chickasaw Bricktown Ballpark. I dare you guys to name another ballpark with a better name than that.
Chickasaw
Bricktown
Ballpark.
Ballpark.
Bricktown Ballpark.
I don't know what it's named after. I don't know why it's named what it's named. It's either Chickasaw or Chickasaw. Don't ask. What does that have to do with a Comet or a Dodger or anything? It's Chickasaw. Yeah, see, you got it. Don't ask what it means. Don't ask what it is. Just hope that your Aviators can pick up some victories in that building. Homestand continues tomorrow, as I mentioned before. 3 game series against Oklahoma City. I feel like before every segment, I feel like I gotta look at you and be like, do we have anything else?
I've tried. I've just Googled.
The problem is the answer is probably yes every single
Bricktown,
time.
Bricktown Ballpark is in Oklahoma City's Bricktown Entertainment District.
All of this is making sense to me.
Chickasaw is a sponsor
or
something. Yeah, gaming center. Yeah, Newcastle Gaming Center. I guess it's part of their owned by the Chickasaw Nation.
So at some point it could be the FedEx Bricktown Ballpark is what I'm hearing.
I guess so, yeah.
Like that's just the sponsor. This is so random. I'm getting this phone call and I feel like I should take it. But it's like I don't know if I can take this phone call right now. I hope that wasn't a very important phone call. But let's get to it, man. We have the last baseball topic, and then we can get to football, get to some mixed martial arts. But speaking of 3-game series, 3-game series at Yankee Stadium most recently. The Athletics dropped 2 of 3 on the road to the Yankees. Here's one of the reasons why, possibly, right? They got a lot of guys rehabbing, plain and simple. So, a couple things I want to update you guys on really quick. I didn't do a show on Thursday. We had the Aces game, the Washington game, of course. Alex, 2019, the Aviators win the PCL, right? Almost immediately after, I came to you very angry, and I was like, everybody's gone. Like, everybody's leaving. Jorge Mateo's in Baltimore, Nick Martini's over here, Mark Payton's over here, and I'm just labeling members of that team elsewhere. And what bothered me more than anything was they were elsewhere, and I did this because I thought I was going crazy. The year after that, which was 2020, of course, there was no minor league season, but I'm watching Aviators starting elsewhere, and I did a hashtag, and I said Aviators starting elsewhere on opening day. It was about 12 players starting elsewhere, including starting pitchers. Jesus Luzardo was one, right? I said, okay. And then when you look up and down the roster now, of course, now we're 6, almost 7 years removed, you're not going to see those same names. However, up until the 25th, Seth Brown was the last remaining member. Now, Seth Brown gets sitting down to AAA last month, or was it earlier this month, and immediately starts raking. I said, so we kind of know how this goes. You're going to call him back up to the big leagues. In a moment that it doesn't go the way that you plan it goes, I don't think you send him down again. So they outright released Seth Brown on the 25th, right? That's the last piece of that 2019 Aviator team. I told my dad, I said, well, when you're doing these stories, you got to try to find, again, the soft spot, right? You got to figure out where you can tell this story. As Seth Brown leaves, maybe 3 weeks before that, the team signs back Nick Martini. I told my dad the last time Nick Martini was on this group, it clinched the PCL. So just in terms of energies, just in terms of guys being in the building, they do have another piece of that 2019 team back, right? So I say all of that to say this Aviator team, while dealing with some influx of new players and guys going up, guys going down, they're having to incorporate these rehab guys. I made the joke to Dick Calver yesterday. Zach Geloff has been on the longest rehab I've ever seen in my life. Zach Geloff got to us on June 17th. Yesterday, I looked at DC and was like, why am I still looking at Zach Geloff? And he just started laughing. I said, no, I kind of need an answer. Because now I got to go figure out what the injury was again, after already knowing what the injury was. Because did I miss something? Why has he been here for 13 days? And now I'm sitting back and Ken Waldichuk makes a rehab start, right? Shea Langoliers is hitting 600 in his rehab. I think Shea actually got caught up this morning, if not this morning, last night. Kobe Thomas, now from the Aviators, gets his call up, right? I'm on the phone with my dad yesterday as I'm leaving the ballpark, and I'm like, hey, this group is doing X, Y, Z, yada, yada, yada. I said, and they've taken everybody with the exception of Kobe. And then I jinxed it. So now Kobe is getting ready to go make his well-deserved MLB debut. But this athletic team still doesn't seem like they have a direction. In a year where all organizations were supposed to kind of find some sort of consistency, the Aviators continue to kind of press through it. The Athletics continue to show that they don't know how to deal with it. They're 34-52 this year. They're still last in the AL West. The spread is only getting worse. They're 8 games back of Texas for the next spot. They're 17 games out of first. Gonna be honest with you guys, I'm about a week away from starting Worst Record Watch again. I don't know what you want me to say.
No, I just
Because they go from because they overachieved last year. So you go from overachieving to flirting with possibly having the worst record in the league. Colorado's going to run away with it.
I was just going to say,
but
I think they're safe.
We've done.
Worst record.
You say that, and I just don't know.
You just don't. I mean, well, we all know.
I just don't.
Baseball's a long season, and every season there's one team that turns around for the better.
Yeah,
and has a really good second half and makes a playoff push. And there's the other team that does the opposite.
Absolutely. And that was the A's last year, right? The A's after the All-Star, kind of before the All-Star break, and then after, they was like, did you see that the A's scored 17? And then you'll look up again and you'll be like, yo, the A's won 20-2. Now, there were 5 losses in between those games, but you were just looking at certain moments and was like, well, they're showing something for a team that's not very good, right? Then they come into this year, and like I said before, I felt like Mark Kotsay was kind of set up from the beginning. It's similar to a Marvin Menzies type situation. I can be here for 5 or 6 years, and we could be mid after 5 or 6 years, and you're going to look at me like, what are you doing? We were winning 30 games when I took over. Like, you got to cut me some slack. Like, we got to figure this out. Mark Kotsay was in a position where if he came into this season, the only thing he could do was make the playoffs. And like I tell everybody, when you look at that roster, do you see a playoff roster? And everybody has told me no. So in my humble opinion, when Mark Kotsay inevitably gets fired at the end of the season, how long before he gets another job? Because I feel like this is going to be a situation where people are going to point to his record and not point to the scenario. I don't know if anybody would have took that job if Mark Kotsay didn't take it. 3 games left. Next rather. On the road for this team. They're headed to Florida to take on the Tampa Bay Rays. Another team that's in need of a home. Right? I'll just leave it at that. I had a conversation with somebody at the ballpark yesterday, and we were talking about the new stadium, and they were saying, I think a notification popped up, and it said that John Fisher may be trying to keep it quiet, that the building might cost close to $2 billion.
Yeah.
And I kind of laughed, and I said, here's the thing. I said, he knows that there's a number in his head that he's not going to pay, whatever that number is. I said this, and I gave you guys a scenario on a radio show before, but dating in today's day and age, right? I've encountered people who have told me in the past, like, oh, I'm getting married on this date. I don't think it works that way if you're looking for a significant other. Like, you can't just like say like this date is going to happen, because you're going to make a mistake trying to get to that date. I've had people say like, oh, I want to have a kid before 25. Okay, cool. But what if you don't meet the right person before 25? So now you're going to rush it to get to it? I say all of that to say this. This is the way I've always viewed this entire relocation. The city of Vegas is like, we're going to build this ballpark. You can come if you want. But we're going to build it, and somebody's playing baseball in it in 2028. Or 26, excuse me. Might be 28. I don't know.
28.
I'm tripping.
28.
All of these damn...
At least 28 at the earliest.
I do think there's going to be a groundbreaking next season for something else. But I keep telling you guys the NBA is coming here, but whatever. I think they're building that with the intention of, hey, 2028, somebody's playing baseball here. It can be you if you want it to be. I'm putting the ball in your court. Cool. Which is exactly why I said if I'm the city of Sacramento, before you guys leave in 2028, there will be a ballpark erected out here as well. Similar to what I just said Vegas is going to do. Now, if I built this park and you choose to leave, that's on you. But we're going to build this park. We know that Major League Baseball wants to expand. We're going to build this. And if I'm Sacramento and I bailed out the league by letting the A's play here, yeah, I expect to be considered when expansion happens. So now I know in certain conversations that I've had behind the scenes, Portland and Utah, maybe now it's Portland and Sacramento. Maybe now the Rays aren't going to stay in Florida. Maybe they do actually have to relocate to the West Coast. Who knows? But if I'm Sacramento, I'm building that ballpark. So now guess what? You have a dilemma on your hands. Everybody. The A's, the league, me, everybody. We all got a dilemma on our hands and we got to figure it out. I just think that this A's Tampa series, for me, is going to be very, very interesting because I'm watching for all the wrong reasons.
Winner gets the flamingo, side on the flamingo. Winner gets it. Winner gets the ballpark. Winner gets the shiny new ballpark in Las Vegas.
I'm so down. I think that's absolutely the way to go. Geez Louise, I could end the show. I got Nighthawk talk and then mixed martial arts talk, and we'll get out of here. Just in terms of the Nighthawks, back-to-back victories for a team trying to make a playoff run, a playoff push, a team that needs it, right? A team that, as Mike Davis has continued to say, but I asked him yesterday. So this is the craziest thing. This is why I said my days are all over the place. Yesterday, when you said that, when you asked earlier, Isaiah, if the Aces game was yesterday, I said I don't know, and I covered the game. I said I don't know because, as I said before, I'm watching those two games, right? So Aces game ends, and I don't really like doing Zoom pressers like that. Like I did it when I had to because I had to do it. I don't personally like doing them. Again, it is what it is. But the game ends. I'm like, cool. I can start heading to the Aces game. I mean, the Aviator game. So I have my story prepped in my notebook, thinking when I get to the Aviator game, I got to type that story while watching the second half of the IFL game. Mind you, I got like 15 minutes to the Aviator game start, but I'm not worried about the Aviators because once it starts, I got 3 hours. So I'm not really worried about y'all right now. So I'm at the ballpark. I'm getting my Aces story done. I'm watching the IFL game. Game is over. I'm like, okay, let me try to time this out. So now I'm prepping that story while the Aces story is pretty much finished for the most part. So now I'm prepping the IFL story. I shoot a text to Mike Davis. Yo, let me know when we can do post game. Mike is the funniest person in the world. He'll hit me back and be like, now. But when he hits me back, if I don't call him in like 60 seconds, Mike calls me. So I'm at the game. I'm prepping the story. I look down and see the now text and was like, okay, cool. Let me start getting ready. Dog, my phone starts ringing in about 30 seconds. I was like, I'm not ready yet. I got to run over to an office and I'm like, yeah, wait, hold on, wait. So I'm going to record on this one. I'm going to talk. Hello? I know you don't care because you just got through coaching the game.
Yeah.
I'm over here drowning, brother. I didn't need you to call me right now. First question out of my mouth, I'm like, Mike, at this point, every game is a playoff game. I don't even know if this is a question. And he was like, no, it has to be. There's no other option. So to see this group reel off back-to-back wins, and he highlighted it, he said, we won a home playoff game. We had one last year. We won another one. We don't have any wiggle room. Going back to what Asia said when we said it in the A block, Asia said that the Aces have exhausted all of their mulligans, essentially, right? We've exhausted all of our excuses. We don't have any other wiggle room. Now, in football, we know that wiggle room to be a lot shorter. And it's kind of the same situation when this team already has 5 losses on the year, right? So these back-to-back wins pushed them to 8-5 on the season. Most recently, it was a 59-55 victory over Tucson in Tucson. Here's the problem. The next question I asked Mike, and Alex, you've covered Nighthawk games.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, so you know Mike. I purposely told him, I said, so I'm going to ask you a question about the defense in the first half. And I don't think you watched the game, but did you?
No.
So defense goes out there, has 5 stops in 4 or 5 stops inside the 5, but they had 3 stops at the goal line. They put up a 0 in the first quarter. I said, Mike, I'm going to ask you a question about how the game ended. I said, so I'm try to stay in this scope only. I said that first quarter, 5 stops inside the goal line, 5 stops inside the 5, 3 stops at the goal line. That's got to be something, right? Like that's one of those defensive performances you go out there and you're like, hey, the offense is up 2 scores. If we just go back and forth at this point, we're in a good spot. Mike was like, yeah, nah, it was some good stops in the beginning. And then, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how we finished the way we finished. I said, didn't I just say stay in the scope of the question? In the back of my mind, I started laughing and said, that's your fault. That's your fault for expecting him to be anything more than what he is. Mike is I went into that interview saying he is going to be pissed after this victory. Because after those 2 stops, Tucson scored on 9 straight drives for Vegas to win by 4. Back-to-back wins. You're tied for 3rd place. You're inching closer to a home playoff spot. I said, this man about to be hot on this phone. Mike Davis. And of course, when I asked the question about how the game ends, he's like, dog, bonehead mistakes. Like, we can't have a mistake here. We can't have a mess up here. We can't have a miscue here, illegal defense here. And that's all that they did throughout the last 3 quarters. Good on them, in Mike's own words. It was the best opening quarter that they've had all season. So they were able to withstand everything else that happened. It was a 59-55 victory. One last thing I'll add really quick. Alex, have you been paying attention to the season at all?
Not really, no.
So, you know Jerome Johnson is MVP, right?
Mm.
You know he's the reigning MVP. He's the reigning MVP after being benched in 3 games and not starting in 2 of them. So I won MVP and you took essentially like 4 games from me, right? Cool. This season, it's happened again. And it's been back and forth. However, it's been a lot less wiggle room in terms of mistakes, right? For both guys. So I ended up asking Mike, because it finally happened in this game. It's like a 3rd down on the first drive, and I see Jerome out there after Jaden Delora gets to start. Now I'm smiling. I said, wait a minute, okay. And now throughout the game, I'm looking at certain scenarios where Jerome trots out, certain scenarios where Jaden trots out. And I asked Mike plain and simple. I said, so we've discussed it on the radio show, but if you're going to be that quick to pull one of them for mistakes, why don't you devise a game plan that includes both of them? And I asked him, how long has it been a conversation? Is that what we're going to see moving forward? He said it's been a conversation for a while. And now they just decided to implement it. They finally feel like they were in a position where they become harder to defend when you have to game plan for both guys. Both guys do different things well. I think this team may have unlocked something if they're going to go with this dual quarterback set. Because I've said it before, I've never seen it work in football. I've never covered a team where it worked in football. We covered that UNLV team that didn't win a fucking game. Talk about seasons that were brutal to sit through. Like, talk about press conferences where we just all sitting there like, this is ugly. That season felt weird. I will always attribute it to the fact that there was no leader on the field. There is no quarterback. And I will always go back to that. Do I think UNLV goes undefeated? No. Do I think UNLV wins more than 1 game? No. But I think it could have got one. If Mike Davis and company are able mid-season to adopt a dual quarterback offense and win a playoff game, which is something that this franchise has never done, I'm going back to week 15. Before we move on to this last topic, do you have something new?
I just saw that.
I'm not stopping.
Brooke Lopez agreed to a 2-year deal with the Los Angeles Clippers.
I know the Lakers was like, oh.
And Caris LeVert,
Baller.
2-year deal with the Pistons.
Baller. Oh, wait a minute. That Detroit pickup. If you need, because we've seen certain moments where Detroit gets kind of hung up on the offensive end. If you can give the ball to Caris LeVert and move in the last 7 seconds, dog. Shout out to these, and this is, again, we don't talk about it enough, but I said it, I felt like the Lakers sold that team because for quite some time, I felt like the Lakers weren't watching basketball in that front office. I just don't think they were. They were going off of names. They were going off of LeBron's 2K roster. They wouldn't. What? I'm wrong?
No, you're right. That's
okay.
right.
I'm like, you tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
Y'all laughed, but y'all didn't say I was wrong.
No,
So I wanted to be sure.
I agree with you.
I wanted to be
Glad
sure.
someone sees it and believes it.
It's
and
ridiculous.
agrees with me.
But you look at moves like Cleveland going to go get Ty Jerome last year, right? You look, by the way, Sacramento's playing 2K too. Like you look at some of these moves that these teams are making, and you're like, this is somebody that knows basketball. Caris LeVert is a nice pickup for anybody, right? Detroit going to get him right now is a nice pickup because you know who was actually beneficial for them last year? Tobias Harris, who was shitted on in Philly, right? So now I'm in a situation where I'm not only viewed as the vet, but that same 15 I was giving you guys every game is more than enough here. Now you're going to get Caris LeVert there where if I go off for a 26, now I didn't win us a game we wasn't supposed to win. Dog. Not only is the NBA, I feel like, kind of wide open, with all due respect to OKC, because there's going to be a top contender again next year. I think the East is completely open. And I think that's why everybody is reacting the way that they're reacting. When I came in and said I had trade news, I bet you everybody thought I was talking about the NFL. Jokes on you guys. But we do have NFL news, right? I had a Steeler fan. Shout out to my girl Taylor. Taylor hit me and was like, talk to me nice. So I'm like, and not something like that. I knew free agency started today. She's a Celtic fan. So I'm like, what did you do? What did you guys do? By the way,
Nothing.
the Simons pickup. Tough.
Solid.
Still don't play defense like Drew Holiday, but I like what you guys did there. But she sent me that message, and I'm like, what the hell did you guys do? I see the Jalen Ramsey move. I said it makes sense. Pittsburgh is gonna win games with their defense anyway. That's what y'all were supposed to do. I go about my day. About 10 minutes later, she hits me back and was like, yeah, Minka's going back. Everything stopped for me. I said, wait, you guys added wait, he's going back, meaning you sent Minka to Miami? And she was like, yeah. I said, I've never seen a more offsetting move. And she was like, what do you mean? You guys just swapped.
Mm-hmm.
The goal to get Jalen was to pair him with Minka. Not so I can lose Minka. So the moment that I was like, wow, I'm scared to throw in that secondary, I was like, pick the other side.
Yep.
Instantly, I was like, pick the other side. So ultimately, I loved the move for Pittsburgh originally. And now I just feel like it was a unilateral move for both sides.
Nah, man. I think that's fair to say. They just swapped secondary players and then they added Jonnu Smith at tight end.
Who did? Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh did, yeah.
That's news to me.
Yeah.
And that's fire.
That was part of it.
Because you need a tight end for Aaron. So if you got him and Fry moved on the other side,
Yeah.
oh my.
Yeah, that was the other
That's
part.
where they went wrong in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Jonnu Smith. That was the second part of that trade for them.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I'm not too mad at that. So I guess Minka kind of makes sense because I mean that's a hell of a deal to go get Minka, right? Like now I'm thinking you're asking for a lot for Minka, but again, I'm sure Miami is happy to bring him back. Again, I had all types of questions that had nothing to do with football instantly when that happened. Imagine being Minka Fitzpatrick and like selling your Florida home. And like, what if you really loved that home? And now like you're going back and you're just like, damn, I want that home. Like, what if I don't have, like, what if it's not on the market now? Like, what happens then? I told you my mind has been all over the place this morning. But we can end with some mixed martial arts. I do have my dad's tip in. The 10 craziest MLB records. I still have that going. But before we do that, I do have my mom's tipping as well. Isaiah and I are going to discuss some mixed martial arts for a brief moment. Assuming that Alex Wright doesn't have anything else for us.
No, nothing. I haven't seen anything pop
At the
up.
moment.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I feel like that might change in a drop of a dime. Trust me.
Yeah.
But UFC 317 International Fight Week this past weekend. We have about technically we have 5 minutes left in the show. We're probably gonna go over 3 or 4 minutes, but let's just cut to the chase. In terms of UFC 317, shout out to Mike Hughes, right? Mike Hughes, formerly of UNLV football, formerly of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I texted him after the fight. We were texting each other leading up to it. He said something to me that I think is the perfect way to encompass Ilia Topuria. He said Ilia Topuria has a stop button in his fist. And I have no better way to explain the way that he hits people, because one of my favorite fighters, I've said it before, current fighters, is Max Holloway, right? And I told my dad, I said, with all due respect, I said, I've never seen Max go out. Like, nobody has, right?
Nobody has.
And I told him, I said, respectfully, I just don't have the visual. I said, I can't picture it. I said, the last time I felt something like this was Anderson Silva. I couldn't picture it. And then Ilia went out and did it. I told my dad from that day, I said, anything's on the table now. They announced the Charles fight. I said, well, you don't think he gonna one punch Charles, right? Like, I didn't watch Charles take a Gaethje punch that he shouldn't have ate. Yeah. I didn't watch him take a Poirier punch that he shouldn't have ate. True. I felt like Ilia drops him in the first round, Charles gets back up, and they either Ilia finishes it in the third, or Ilia gets dropped in the third. I did not expect a one-punch knockout from Ilia Topuria of a legend, another legend in Charles Oliveira. Let alone you're a lightweight champion now. Like, scratch the belt.
Right.
The fight itself, all bets are off.
Well, man, okay. So with Ilia, he's just on a run right now. That's crazy. He keeps not only beating or defeating, but knocking out these legends. And
all are none are like arguable.
No, and it's crazy because he deserves all the credit in the world, but because he keeps fighting these guys who are fan favorites, people still boo him. But like, it's to the point now where, I mean, you got to give the guy the credit, because so I like Ilia. I knew his time was coming, but I was such a big Volk fan, so that one I wanted Volk to win, but I knew it was going to be tough. And
Volk should have took that fight on that not short notice, but he shouldn't have took that fight in that window.
Yeah, maybe he should have took a little more time.
Ew.
But to his credit, and Ilia said this 2 nights ago now. He said that because he was asked, okay, between Holloway, Volk, and Charles, ranked the 3 knockouts.
Ooh,
and he did. He said I think he did it. He kind of said it in the same order it happened. Charles, Max, and I'm sorry, Volk, Max, and Charles, because he said Volk won because it was the hardest one to do.
Yeah, Volk was touching him.
Volk was touching him. They were going back and forth. And I mean, everyone could say this, they'd be like, oh man, I feel like I was just getting to my groove and then boom. But it did look like Volk was getting his groove, and then he just Ilia's pressure is undeniable. He had him pressed against the gate. Volk had no more room to run, and he got him. He finished him. So yeah, Ilia's that guy.
It's undeniable. Man.
What you just said about Max Holloway, he has a big following, especially with the Hawaiian community. Yeah. And obviously we see that a lot here too in Vegas. So, yeah, man, no one's ever knocked out. No one's ever seen Max get close to getting knocked out before. In my opinion, he got dominated by Volk in their last fight.
Yeah,
Volk dominated him, but he never like knocked him down or knocked him out.
Is it that last fight?
Yeah, they're last.
Have a beef, brother.
They fought 3 times.
No, that first one was the one that stunned me. The first one was the one where I was sitting there like, okay, Max lost. Yeah. Second one, I thought Max won. Third one, I have to go back and watch, but I think it was closer than people had it.
You have to watch that one then.
Yeah,
but I think Volk dominated him. But yeah, Ilia not just knocked him down, he knocked him out, and then
he was gone before he touched the canvas.
Yes, and here's the thing with Charles, I love Charles too. In all his fights, he he gets punched and he gets rocked.
That's why I thought the drop was coming.
But he's able to recover because he's so elite on the ground. And that's why he was almost always able to recover. The only time he wasn't able to recover was against Islam, because Islam is also elite on the ground.
Keep in mind too, when Ilya had him on the floor, and I said it was going to happen. I said when he drops him, I said Charles is going to bait him.
Had him. He almost had him.
Ilya was like, "Nope, get up.
Yeah,
I'm not. No.
He had him in the leg lock.
And the funny thing is too, when he let go of the knee, and everybody was like, "Who?" I was like, "He has the ankle picked." So everybody was like, "Who?" In the build, I was at Buffalo. Everybody relaxed, and I was like, last thing you should do in this present moment, because Charles has his ankle still.
Yep.
What I will say is, going back to the lead up for the fight, I have two things that I will say just feels like a movie, right? When he's in the gym and he throws that combination and he looks over at his coach and he looks at the camera and says, "Poor Charles."
Yeah.
My stomach turned. When they had that first face off and he said, "I didn't want it to be
I
you."
didn't want it to be you. Yeah. That's what I love about Ilya, man.
Said, dog, I said we might be watching the birth of one of the greatest to ever do it, brother. Like, those are two movie moments for me.
Yeah, I think we're in the middle of witnessing it. I mean, when at first he comes off as cocky, but I think he has the funny thing is against Volk, he came off really abrasive, like he grabbed the bell, his mind, but afterwards he was like, "I love Volk. I really didn't want to do that. But I had to. It's my time. It's my title shot. I had to take it from him."
And same thing about Max.
I
didn't want Max.
I love Max. And there's the thing. Max was like, "No, like I want the title shot." And then Ilya was like, "Fine. Well, if you want to fight me, give me your BMF too." And I think that rubbed people the wrong way because people love Max so much. But what did he do? He knocked him out. With Charles, it was all class. There was no beef. They're both family men. You know what's really funny? I'll talk about a weird movie moment. That when they're both doing weight cuts,
the sauna.
They stand in the sauna right next to each other. Imagine me and you're about to fight each other. We're about to fight each other the next night, and we and you are just sweating it out in the sauna. Like, talk about, hey, you got a family, I have a family. Let's do this for our families. Like, all right,
is your wife here? Don't ask about her. Like now, I'm mad. Like now, we about to fight in the sauna. Don't you? Why? What difference would it make?
It's crazy, man. Because he's like, he talks about his opponents. He says, I love them. They're a legend. I respect them so much. He's like, respectfully, I'm gonna have to knock you out. I guess that's the way he says it. And it's so wild. And I'm not gonna kind of deferring what you said. Charles is he could take a punch, but he could recover because he's elite on the ground. He
can't take him forever.
The only thing though is Ilya. I think he hasn't fought someone with that. He's fought Gaethje, he's fought Poirier, but Ilya might be untapped, like because he's not even in his prime yet. He's only 28.
But here's the thing.
difference. I'm not gonna lie to you. Saying you're gonna do a first round knockout is crazy.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, Charles always takes a hit in the first round,
which is why he knew.
So I knew it was gonna happen too. I did. I wasn't shocked at all.
I didn't think it would be a knockout, but again, it ended up being what it was. Shout out to Brandon Royval and Joshua Van as well. Ridiculous fight.
Toja getting the finish. Kai Kara France as well.
I'm a huge Kai Kara France fan.
I'm not.
So I'm not gonna lie. Pantoja is, and Demetrius Johnson is one of my goats, right? Yeah. So I just think it's hard to deny and people keep talking about bantamweights, and no disrespect to Marab, but I know what I saw, and Dominic Cruz felt undeniable to me, right?
Yes.
Jose Aldo felt undeniable to me, right? When I watch Alexander Pantoja, he may be one of the first ones where he doesn't feel undeniable to me. It may not matter.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that resume and I'm like, dog, I don't know. So going back really quick to what you said about Ilya, do you remember the last time he went to the scorecards?
No.
Because I do.
I don't.
It was a Josh Emmett fight.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
And just from that standpoint alone, Josh Emmett is built like a spark plug. He's short, low to the ground, hits like a fucking truck. Similar to Ilya.
Yeah.
So Ilya can be had. It's just one of those situations where, again, styles make fights. And Ilya, I said it before at Buffalo when he knocked him out. I was walking past the table. I said he has to have dynamite in his hands. And there's no other way to put it. Like, I have to know what Ilya normally would walk around at, because he might close to walk around maybe 170 something. because for him to have that knockout power at 145, take it up to 155 and knock out 55ers that are bigger than him, I don't know that he can't go to welterweight and drop some guys there. So I don't know if he ever fights at welterweight, but
He might.
I didn't watch Bud Crawford fight at a 130, 140. This super middleweight fight is at 168.
Mhm.
So we didn't seen it before, and Bud carries dynamite in his hands too. So just from that perspective, I think it's interesting to note. I got my dad's tip in, I got my mom's tip in, and we have an alarm ready to go if Alex got it.
Just one that I saw.
Is it a big enough name?
Nikhil Alexander Walker has agreed to a 4-year deal with the Atlanta Hawks.
I thought you were about to say Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh.
And I was about to start flipping shit. Like I was about to be like, don't join your cousin now. With Atlanta, that's another team. I haven't looked at their roster recently, so who knows? They just lost Clint Capella, so I'm Okongwu is going to be their.
Hopefully that means it's O's time.
It better
I
be.
hope so, man. He's such like he's so good at being that quiet 20-point, like almost double game.
Which is why it makes
I'm happy
Clint
for
a
O.
little expendable.
I need O to have his time, man. He's ready. I'm ready for him. He's gonna be the next Chino Hills guy to be an all-star. I hope so.
I like. You know
I
what? I
love O,
kind of.
man.
But I'm happy that you said that because I actually do think that a lot of people are going to learn next year,
I
right?
hope so, man.
Another situation where you would get a starter and he would only play 25 minutes or so, and you would wonder why, because his backup played 26, and you would be like, well, how does that work, right? And if you was watching Atlanta over the past couple of years, you kind of knew where this was headed. I have my mom's tip in, which I'm actually going to end with. I got my dad's tip in that we can go with. My dad has been giving us the 10 craziest records in the MLB. The last one that we did, which was last Monday, we did 2 grand slams in 1 inning. And that was done by Fernando Tatis Sr. So that was done by Junior's dad. I think I'm here. Did you have another one? Oh, I thought I heard you make a sound. You heard that too? I thought I heard a sound. I was like, is that breaking news happening?
Emotion.
You know another funny thing? For people that have just seen Alex cover different things around the city, they're probably sitting here watching him during this live show, and they're watching him how much he's smiling, and they're probably like, "What the when does this happen?"
Unless you want to know where Luca Garza is going.
I actually do.
He's going to
Pacers.
Luca Garza 2-year deal with the Celtics.
Oh no!
And then also saw Luke Cornett 40-year deal with the Spurs.
Okay.
And I was gonna say he could be the new Luke Cornett, and I was like, but he's there, so I guess not. So Luke going to, I'm not gonna lie, isn't Luke 7? Luke is 7 feet, isn't he?
I
think so. Yeah.
Wait a minute. So if I'm driving the paint, I gotta worry about Wemby.
7'1", Luke Cornett.
That's unfair. See, now that is what I'm upset about. So if I'm driving the lane, I got to deal with Wemby. Then when he comes out of the game, I get to finally, whoo. And now I'm looking at somebody that's 7'1". This is literally Atlanta all over again. I gotta look at Clint Capella. Now I gotta look at O. Like I should have to look at Oneka at all right now, but that's fine. Where's my tip in? Damn it, you didn't throw me off. Luca Garza going to the Clippers just seems. I mean, going to the Celtics just seems right. I don't think I'll be worried if he went to the Clippers, but I'm worried if he goes to the Celtics. It's the same thing I've said in the NBA, same thing I've said in NFL, same thing I've said about the Yankees. If the Yankees call me about a prospect, I'm saying no, and I'm calling him up right now because they see something that I don't. So I'm gonna call him up right now because they want him.
Yeah.
Same thing with Bill Belichick. If Bill Belichick is calling me about any player on my team, I'm starting you tomorrow. Just gonna see what happens. Yeah. Like if he wants you, I'm gonna try to see what I can get out of you right now. But my dad's tip in. Let's see if we can do. We'll probably do 1 or 2. We'll see what happens. Multiple hits for 2 teams in one day. So we're talking about trades and moves. So I'm pretty sure I know where this is going, right? On August 4th, 1982, I don't know if it's Joel or if it's Joel Youngblood, playing for the New York Mets against the Chicago Cubs in a day game, had a 2-run single in the 3rd inning, but while on deck in the next inning, he was called back to the dugout and was informed he was traded to the Montreal Expos. But the request he made... What? Oh, but then requested that he was made available for their game later. I was trying to figure out who requested what. So the Montreal Expos traded for him and requested that he be ready for their game that night. So maybe we don't know where this is going. Here's my dad's little caveat. After gathering his gear and making the 90-minute flight, Youngblood arrived in the 6th inning of the Expos game and was called in to pinch hit. He reached base on an infield single. Therefore, Young is now the only player to record hits for 2 separate teams on the same day. Another footnote to this record that both hits were off of 2 future Hall of Famers in Ferguson Jenkins and Steve Carlton.
I like that.
Did not think that was going there. I was going to think that it was going to be like a rain delay or something. And like you got traded to the other team. So now you got a hit against, like Sean Marion did that before. I don't know if you guys know. Sean Marion, when he played for the Suns, they ended up trading him, I think, 06, 07, they traded him to Miami. And when they traded him to Miami, they had a game that year where, like, the final play, they ended up doing a review. They ended up calling in the question. Like, they replayed, like, the last, like, 1.1 seconds. But Sean Marion started that game on Phoenix. So when they met up again later that year to finish that game, Sean Marion was a member of the Miami Heat. So he's the only player in league history in the NBA to play a game for 2 teams, play in one game for both teams. So
that's awesome.
Kind of awkward. I do got time for one more if you guys want to do it real quick.
Yeah.
And this would be a name that I don't know how to pronounce. So here goes that. Shortest player in league history. On August 19th, 1951, Eddie Goodell, I hope I'm right. Eddie Goodell played for the St. Louis Browns and stood 3'7". And his uniform was 1/8. Is that what my edge said? That can't be right.
That can't be
You're
right.
gonna have to no, that's not right. I refuse to believe it.
1/8.
1/8 what? I don't believe it. I'm like, no. When he came to bat, home plate umpire Ed Hurley immediately called a timeout to question the legitimacy of the move. Browns met that would have pissed me off. That would have pissed me off beyond belief. I send out a 3-7 shortstop or something. You gonna pause the game and say, "Are you for real?" That's gonna piss me off, dog. Where are we at? Home plate umpire Ed Hurley immediately called timeout to question the legitimacy of the move, and the Browns manager Zach Taylor had a copy of he had a copy of his contract on hand, proving that he was a member of the active roster. Also, Goodell was instructed not to swing and took 4 straight balls for a walk and was taken out of the game for a pinch hitter. So not only did you guys not want to pitch to this 3-7 man, you walked this 3-7. Shout out to Eddie G, man. I don't know. I just found out about this person, and he is by far my favorite player in history.
There's like a famous picture, and it's Tim. He's in the batter's box, and like you see how short he is, and it's like he's standing there, and a normal pitch that would just be like a strike for any other player.
Absolutely,
it's like he's here, and it's like the pitch is like up here, so it's like higher than him, and it's like.
So how do you want us to approach that? And I've always asked umpires that. You were taught like the strike zone is the strike zone. What happens when you get somebody up there and they hunch over the plate? What happens when you get somebody up there and it's kind of like a Russell Martin? It's like they're sitting on the horse. That kind of scrunches it, right? If I told you I've polled, well, I haven't, but if I told you I've asked 100 umpires, that I probably could tell you I've gotten about 7 or 8 different answers. And I don't know if that should be the case. Like the strike zone should be uniform, and it's not. It's the last thing that's uniform about this league. But we went over. We told you guys we would. Unless Alex has another one. This is by far one of like my favorite shows ever, simply because we get to have this alarm playing. That's it.
I don't see anything else.
Okay. Well, I do have my mom's tip in, and we can get out of here because we're talking a lot about things that we have upcoming, whether it's Summer League, whether it's Aces games, Aviator games, whatever the case may be. My mom is good for telling me this. I think it's a good way to end the show. She said, your normal day is someone else's dream. Be grateful.
Yeah, I like that.
So shout out to my mom for that. As always, you guys know, you guys can catch us on Mondays, 3 to 5 on Thursday nights. I almost said it again, Alex. I almost said Tuesdays again.
Oh, yeah, Tuesday. Mm-hmm.
Mondays, 3 to 5. Thursdays, 10 to midnight. You guys know where to find us. I'm Terrell. That's Alex. That's Isaiah. Until next time, gang. Keep on talking.
crazy.